Jai Hind everyone. This is Dublish, Faculty Assistant Professor in Engineering College, AKGC Ghaziabad. Today I am going to deliver a lecture on pattern recognition, which is an important concept of machine learning in AI. So, first of all, before starting pattern recognition, first of all, we should know what is pattern. So pattern is basically everything around in this digital world. A pattern can either be seen physically or it can be observed mathematically by applying algorithm. For example, the color on the cloth is speech pattern. In computer science, basically a pattern is represented using vector feature value. Now, what is pattern recognition? Pattern recognition is the process of recognizing patterns by using machine learning algorithm. So pattern recognition can be defined as a classification of data based on the knowledge already gained on statistical information extracted from patterns and or their representation. So basically one of the important aspects of pattern recognition is application potential. So we have raw data. Through raw data we have segment, through binary images, then we extract its feature and then we classify in its labeled data set. So this is all about in journal case we of general system of pattern recognition. So pattern is what is pattern recognition system? So pattern is everything around this digital world. A pattern can either be seen physically or it can be observed mathematically by applying algorithm. So in pattern recognition, pattern is comprised of the following two fundamental things. First of all, collection of observation and the concept behind the observation and the feature factor. So the collection of observation is also known as a feature factor. A feature is a distinctive characteristic of a good or service that sets it apart from similar items. So feature factor is the combination of n features in n dimensional column vector. The different classes may have different feature value, but the same class always have the same class value. So we can understand this is through the example. We have a good feature. So through good feature we have this distinctive way. Through this linear separability, and this is known as low linear separability. This is a bad feature, combination of good and weird. This is the multimodal feature, and this is the highly correlated pattern recognition system. Now, what are the classifier and decision boundaries? So in a statistical classification problem, a decision boundary is a hypersurface that partitions the underlying vector space into two sets. So a decision boundary is a region of a problem space in which the output label of a classifier is ambiguous, and the classifier is a hypothesis or discrete value function that is used to assign categorical class label to a particular data points. So classifier is used to partition the feature space into class labeled decision region, while decision boundaries are the borders between decision regions. So this is the classifier and this is the decision boundary region. So component in pattern recognition system. A pattern recognition system can be partitioned into components. There are basically 5 typical components for various pattern recognition system. These are following. First is sensor, and second one is pre-processing mechanism, third one is feature extraction mechanism, fourth one is description algorithm, and fifth one is training set. So now we will understand what are these component which we use in pattern recognition system. So basically a sensor is a device used to measure a property such as pressure, position, temperature or acceleration and respond it with the feedback. Now a pre-processing mechanism is in where we use segmentation is using, and it process of partitioning a data into multiple segments. So it can also be defined as the technique of dividing or partitioning on data into parts called segment. A feature extraction mechanism. Feature extraction start from an initial set of measured data and build derived value such as feature intended to be informative and non-redundant. Basically facilitating the subsequent learning and generation steps, and in some cases leading to better human interpretation. It can be manual or automated. So a description algorithm, pattern recognition algorithm generally aim to provide a reasonable answer for all possible input and to perform most likely matching of the input, taking into account their statistical variation. Reasonable answer for all possible input and to perform most likely matching of the input, taking into account their statistical variation. In the training set, training data is a certain percentage of an overall data set along with the testing set. As a rule, the better the training data, the better the algorithm of the classifier problems. So, in graphical way, we can understand pattern recognition system. First, we have in real world we have sensor, then we processing and processing the data. After that, feature extraction through classification algorithm, through cluster algorithm, and through regression algorithm. Through if we classification algorithm gives class assignment, clustering algorithm gives cluster assignment, and regression algorithm gives predicted variable. And these algorithm gives feedback and adaptation, which will be used by the sensor and pre-processing enhancement and feature extraction further. The design principle of pattern recognition. In pattern recognition system, for recognizing the pattern or structure, two basic approaches are used, which can be implemented in different techniques. These are, first one is a statistical approach and second one is a structural approach. Statistical approach means we have some statistical method and mathematical formulas, model and techniques that are used in the statistical analysis of raw research data, and the application of statistical method extract information from research data and provide different way to access the robustness of research output. Two main research statistical method are used. First one is descriptive statistics and second one is inferential statistics. So, descriptive statistics basically summarize data from a sample using indexes such as the mean or standard deviation, and inferential statistics draw conclusion from the data subject to random variation. And second one is structural approach. Basically, the structural approach is a technique wherein the learner master the pattern of sentence, and the structures are different arrangements of word in one accepted style or the other. So, the types of structures are sentence pattern, phrase pattern, formula or idioms. Now, what is the difference between statistical approach and structural approach? So, statistical approach follows statistical decision theory and structural approach follow human perception cognition. In a statistical approach, we have quantitative feature, and in a structural approach, we have morphological primitives. In a statistical approach, we have fixed number of feature, but in a structural approach, we have variable number of primitives. What is statistical pattern recognition? So, generally, statistical pattern recognition refers to the use of statistics to learn from example, means to collect observation, study and digest them in order to infer general rules or concepts that can be applied to a new unseen observation. Previous discussion on prior knowledge in Plato and Aristotle make clear that learning from observation is impossible when context is missing. So, context information should be available from learning to occur. Why? Because otherwise we don't know where to look or how to define meaningful patterns. Without the reference to the context, there is no way to drive a single general statement on the observation, because many of them are equally possible. So, basically context is necessary to make a choice. So, there is a trade-off between how much knowledge that we already have and the number of observation that is needed to gain some specific additional insight. So, it is shown in the figure on the right. If we know everything, no new observation is needed. It's obvious. The less we know in advance, the more examples are needed to reach a specific target. So, this is all depend on how ambitious we are in reaching a specific goal. Discussion are like this are very symbolic. So, knowledge does not have a size that can be measured. It can at most be ranked partially. From a specific starting point, it can grow, and information theory might be helpful when we accept that knowledge can be expressed in bits of information. So, basically this implies always an uncertainty. Prior knowledge, however, usually comes. So, the expert basically cannot estimate how convenient he is that he is right. So the medical doctor who tells us what to measure, where, or what are the clear example of decision cannot tell what the probability is that this is correct. Moreover, in daily life, we may be absolutely certain after a finite number of observations. So we meet somebody and within a second we are sure it is our neighbor. So this is not fit in the information theoretical approach. So this is again an aspect of the struggle to learn from the example. Prior knowledge might be wrong, but it is the foundation for new knowledge. For the timing, we solve this dilemma by converting existing knowledge into facts of where we are sure of and unknown between them, and they have to be uncovered. So in the so-called Bayesian approaches, it is assumed that some prior probability for the unknown are known for sure, and the next step is any learning approach is Bayesian or not. It is now bring the known facts, the observation and the unknown in the same work in some mathematical description by which they can be related. This is called a representation. So on the basis of representation of the observation can be related. So the pattern recognition task is to generalize these relations to rules that should hold for new observation outside the set of given ones. The entire process of representation and generalization is illustrated by the below figure. So basically, there are some real world objects. The given knowledge is that they come in two different distinguishable classes, the red ones and the blue ones, and it is also given that size, area and the parameter length are important for distinguishing them. So example are given. The rule to distinguishing them is unknown and it should not be found such that it can be applied to new observation for which the class is known and has to be estimated. So this is the pictorial diagrammatation of feature representation. We have sensor, through this we can represent and generalize, and this is the area and this is the parameter. The basically in below diagram we have object. So generally objects are represented in a two-dimensional vector space, and every object, as we know, is represented as a point, as a vector in this space. So it appears that the training example of the two classes are represented in almost separable regions in this space. A straight line may serve as a decision boundary. It may be applied to a new object with unknown class membership to estimate the class they belong to. So in this example, still some training objects go wrong. So it is to be expected that the classification rule is not perfect and it will make some error for future example. So the main target in the development of pattern recognition system is to make this error as small as possible. So the additional target may be the minimization of the cost of learning and classification. To achieve these targets, following required. First one, representation. Second one, generalization and evaluation. So representation meaning is the way the objects are related, in this case by a two-dimensional vector space, and the generalization are the rules and the concept that can be derived from the given representation of that set of example, and evaluation, accurate and trustworthy estimate of the performance of the system. Next one is, this is the most important concept of today's lecture. What is principal component analysis? Principal component analysis is an unsupervised machine learning algorithm that is used for the dimensional reduction in machine learning. It is a statistical process that converts the observation of correlated feature into a set of linearly uncorrelated features with the help of orthogonal transformation, and these new transform features are called the principal component. It is one of the popular tools that is used for exploratory data analysis and predictive modeling. It is a technique to draw a strong pattern from the given data set by reducing the variances. So PCA generally tries to find the lower dimensional surface to project the high dimensional data, and the PCA work by considering the variance of each attribute, because the high attribute shows the good split between the classes and hence it reduces the dimensionality. Some real world application of PCA are image processing, movie recommendation system, optimizing the power allocation in various communication channel. It is a feature extraction technique, so it contains the important variables and drop the least important variable. So the PCA algorithm is based on some mathematical concepts such as skip at, variance and covariance, eigenvalue and eigenvector and factor, and some commonly term used in PCA algorithm are dimensionality and correlation. So what is dimensionality? Dimensionality is the number of feature or variable present in the given data set. More easily, it is the number of columns present in the data set. and correlation signifies that how strongly two variables are related to each other, such as if one changes, the other variable also get changes. The correlation value ranges from -1 to +1. Here -1 occurs if variables are inversely proportional to each other, and +1 indicates the variables are directly proportional to each other. Next one is orthogonal, eigenvector and covariance matrix. So orthogonal defines that variables are not correlated to each other, and hence the correlation between the pair of variables is 0. An eigenvector, if there is a square matrix M and a non-zero vector V is given, then V will be eigenvector if AV is the scalar multiple of V. And the covariance matrix containing the covariance between the pair of variables is called the covariance matrix. Next one is in PCA, that's described above. The transform new feature, the output of the PC are the principal component. The number of these PCs are either equal to or less than the original feature represent in the data set. Some properties of the PCA are basically the PCA must be in the linear combination of the original feature, and the component are orthogonal, that is the correlation between a pair of variable or always 0, and the importance of each component decrease when going to 1 to n. It means that one PC has the most important importance and n PC will have the least importance. So basically steps for PC algorithm, first of all we have getting the data set and then representing the data into a structure, and then standardizing the data in this data. After it calculating the covariance of Z, then calculate the eigenvalue and eigenvector, then sorting the eigenvector, and then calculate the new feature of principal component and remove less or important feature from the new data set. Now we will understand how we can get the data set. Firstly, we need to take the input data set and divide into two subparts X and Y, where X is training set and Y is the validation set. Now we will represent our data set into a structure such as we will represent a two-dimensional matrix of independent variable X. Here each row corresponding to the data item and the column corresponding to the feature. The number of column is the dimension of the data set. Now we will standardize our data set, such as in a particular column the feature with the high variance are more important compared to the feature with lower variance. If the importance of feature is independent of the variance of the feature, then we will divide each data item in a column with the standard deviation of the column. Hence we will name the matrix as Z. To calculate the covariance of Z, we will take the matrix Z and we will transpose it. After transport, we will multiply it by Z, and the output matrix will be the covariance matrix of the Z. Now we need to calculate the eigenvalue and eigenvector for resultant covariance matrix Z. Eigenvector or the covariance matrix are the direction of the axis with high information, and the coefficient of this eigenvector are defined as the eigenvalue. Now we have to sort the eigenvector. So in this step we will take all the eigenvalue and we'll sort them in decreasing order, which means from largest to smallest, and simultaneously sort the eigenvector accordingly. In matrix P of eigenvalue, the resultant matrix will be named as P star. Now we will calculate the new feature or principal component. So we will multiply the P star matrix by the Z in the resultant matrix Z star. Each observation is the linear combination of original feature, and each column of the Z matrix is independent of each other. Now remove less or unimportant feature from the new data set. The new feature set has occurred, so we will decide here what to keep or what to remove. It means we will only keep the relevant or important feature in the new data set, and important feature will be removed out. So what are the application of principal component analysis? So basically PCA is used in the dimensional reduction techniques in various AI applications such as computer vision, images comprehension, etc. And it can also be used for finding hidden pattern if data is high dimension. Some field where PCA is used are finance, data mining, psychology, etc. Thanks. This is all about my today lecture. Jai.